Life Skills Day, October 21. My name is Dianne Todaro-Wells, and I am speaking to you from Sydney, Australia. In 2018, I was given the honour of a humanitarian award by Parenting 2.0, and I have great pleasure today coming to you and speaking up about a very dearly loved and cherished skill that I have learned to find the language around and navigate on sexual literacy. It's a tricky subject, talking about sex, love, relationships, positive, negatives. But over the next 30 minutes, I hope you'll stay with me on the journey, of which I will like to explore with you why I would take on the life skill of sexual literacy skills for humanity, how I managed to come to the attention of Parenting 2.0, and where I see I'm being led in this journey, in the hope that all children all around the world, for this generation, the next generations, and the generations that are still living without a full experience of a vocabulary to speak up about their sexual literacy, well, their sexual life. And we all deserve an amazing, amazing sexual literacy, love, life, and skills. So where it started for me was back in the 1960s. I was born in the 60s, and I'm coming up close to that age now. So yeah, look, the moment in my life that was a tipping point for this plunging in off the deep end into a life about having a voice around sexual literacy was in my life. There were a number, not just one time, but there were a number of times where, without any education around how my body was changing, I found myself in a place where I would not want any other child to be. That was a place of trauma around sexual experiences that I did not want to have as a child. And that repeated. And what was the difficult thing for me as a child growing up was that I wanted to be a good girl, and for what had happened to me was not good. And so there was shame already existing for me at such a young age. And I'm talking at the age of 8, 10, 12. So not just once, 3 times. And so what I had learned as a young child was to lose my voice. And it's not that I stopped being vivacious or living or having experiences as a child and turning up to school and being a part of the life that I was living. Something turned off inside of me, a little voice that shouldn't have been dampened or taken or interfered with. And so with no education and no language to discuss anything around puberty, changing bodies, anything like that for me, I actually missed out on going to my sex education talk as a child. I had the chicken pox. And I remember turning up at school the next day thinking, everyone knows something that I don't know. And when I became a young woman, and my sister gave me an education in the bathroom, which took about 3 minutes. Now, that is definitely not a package to kind of get any young person through those tumultuous years as a teenager. And so there was no language, and many years later I was to find out that there was a lot more trauma going on in my family that I didn't know about. And my journey has opened up all those old wounds, those historic um, uh, traumatic situations in my family tree. So in a nutshell, not having education, having complex trauma as a child led me to a way of self-destructing. And so by the time I was 21, it had taken me on a road of wanting to fix this little light that had been extinguished, a hole in me that needed to be filled. And I looked for that in people, places and things. I didn't look within. There was the light was not on inside of me. So when I had reached that rock bottom, you know, I was shown that, that I was okay, that I had gone through trauma, and I was learning some life skills about how to actually feed myself and look after myself again and get back on my own, my feet, find my voice. And that was at the age of 21. So I'm grateful for that tipping point. But I remember that tipping point, that moment of just thinking, this isn't the life that I had desired for myself, to hit such a rock bottom at 21 of my life. And I had so much potential. There were so many things I wanted to do with my life. And I think my prayer at that point, I was looking up to the stars and I just said, help. That was it. It was just a HELP, a moment. And in that moment, I didn't realize what was about to come. And in my journey, within the next 24 hours, I was shouldered and taken care by the Salvation Army here in Australia. And I didn't realize the complexity of what I had been putting into my body, drugs, alcohol. And I actually went into a psychosis while I was in that rehabilitation program, jumped out a window, smashed both my feet, and I ended up in a wheelchair. Well, I'm pleased to say that I can walk, you know, I can walk and I can talk. And it kept me in this place. And for a year, I learned life skills about eating properly, sleeping, you know, praying, meditating, learning to talk about the secrets. That's what happened. I learned to talk about the secrets that I'd kept bottled up for so many years inside of me. And it was such an amazing experience. I learned to walk and talk and become Dianne. You know, I got to know myself, and I had a mirror of people that I could reflect with, and that were challenging me to be, you know, the person I, you know, knew that I wanted to be as a child. So here I was at 21, given the opportunity, and one day I remember it like lightning coming into my mind, you know, that I wanted to teach, and so that's what I did. You know, I'd always wanted to be a primary school teacher, and I thought, well, you know, I didn't finish school, but I could actually go back and I could start again, and that's exactly what I did. And graduated 3 years later with a high distinction and a passion more than any distinction to go out there and teach. And it wasn't long before, when I started teaching, that I realised that there were so many parents come into my classroom door and they wanted to know what to expect. And, you know, I could not help but think about myself as a child and wondering whether my primary school teacher could see through my poker face, could see what was actually going on. And just recently, I've been sorting out, with the COVID lockdown, sorting through old files, and I found a report card from my primary school, and I can probably pinpoint the time where that traumatic event happened, because I was always getting A's for English and for reading. And all of a sudden I got Ds. And there wasn't much reporting to parents at those points in time, but that would have been in the early 70s, that I got a D. And I thought to myself when I was looking at that report card, probably the time that happened. Yeah, I can think, yeah, moment of clarity, note that. So there's just been these little moments, these gems that have kind of connected all the dots in my life as I've been willing to just keep taking the next step forward and continuing not to keep secrets, to find those people that I can be confident to speak with, to speak my vulnerability, to Mama Marlene has been a wonderful joy for me. We did this video recording only a week ago, and I was able to be really vulnerable with her about some intimate details in my life at the moment. And I just love the capacity that I have I've found not just locally, but globally, to have women and men that are like-minded, that want to be a voice in the world, want to be a light in the world, want to share their experience, hope and strength with others for the good of humanity. That brings me so much joy, and that just keeps me wanting to speak up. So that's what I did. I really was woken up when I actually became a teacher, and I started creating books. So I decided that it became very clear what I needed to do. I would write these books for parents to give realistic expectations for their child. The first one was Now I Am 5, and that got published and was distributed, and it just gave me a little taste. And that wasn't easy to do if you're contemplating writing a book. My first book, someone came up to me who I was another mentor, someone I could be quite honest with, a friend of our family. And he said, well, Dianne, if you want to write a book, no publisher's going to be knocking at your door. And he picked up a pen out of his pocket and he gave it to me and he said, just write. So if you've got something you want to write about, just write, pick up a pen and start. And that's exactly how I did it. And I got my first publisher by being persistent, and I got tea bags and put a poem about how important it is to listen to children on this top of the tea bag. And I rang the publisher and I said, hi, my name's Dianne and I'm the woman that sent you a tea bag. Did you get it? And that was my first publishing contract. That has led on to many books that I have been involved in, and I have come to the attention of Parenting 2.0 because that just had continued. When I had became a mother at the age of 30, I've got two children, Carla and Luke. Carla's 28 and Luke is 26, but my daughter Carla, God love her, passed away just 10 months ago. And I'm still not really comfortable even speaking about that, but I eventually will be. But I need to acknowledge her as I'm speaking today, because Carla became so integral in my journey of publishing in the area of sexual literacy. When Carla was going through puberty, I recalled my own experience as a young girl going through puberty and the lack of education. And now I was a teacher and I had actually been working. I'd moved out of teaching and gone into educational publishing and was working as a sales resource consultant to 500 schools. So I understood the language and the relationship between schools and publishing and education and getting materials into schools. So I could see that the market was very flat, but I could also see the entry point to communicate with parents who we assume are the life educators of children, um, didn't have a neat little package, or you know, could give the child a book if they didn't have the language skills themselves or the understanding around their own sexuality. I wanted to put something in a language that could be read by the child, the parent could learn at the same time, and it was fun, you know, and I want to understand my body. You know, it's a celebration to go through puberty, and it's not all yucky. It can be a beautiful experience, and it was for Carla. It was a beautiful experience, and it was a beautiful experience for her not her boyfriend, her brother. But I think on publishing, it's not cool to have a mum who publishes books around puberty. And I guess my son's face wasn't on the front cover of Puberty Boy, but the girls in his year 4 class, he was about 10 when it was published, he did not take it too kindly when they had put his face where he appeared in the book on the photocopier and asked him to sign some copies. But he definitely has the resilience to laugh about that with me today. And Carla, you know, I think she and her girlfriends, they just love the experience, and, you know, just having the language to talk about the tricky subject of how do you actually get a vocabulary to navigate your own body, and what do you want that to look like? Well, how can you explore it in a comfortable space? So what was really important for me in developing the Puberty Girl, Puberty Boy project was listening to the voice of my audience, which was children and parents, and also having an education hat on too, putting in that educational pedagogy that was sound, and that was something that I was very proud of. And the full capacity of that book stands in its own testimony in the way that it was translated into 10 different languages across all the continents in the world, and just became a success, and is still selling, which is just outstanding, absolutely outstanding. And it's been superseded by people that are you know, playing with the words puberty girl. I think there's a book out now called Girl Puberty. And I just think, good on you, go with it, you know, like go and spread the message. And if I've been a catalyst to get more literature out there, I am grateful. I'm grateful. And what a gift that my daughter, just being born in the world, gave me to explore that opportunity in a frank, open, loving way that I could go through the journey again, and this time not hold secrets. But I have to say that approaching Parenting 2.0 and being honoured for this skill really drove me to really want to be able to have better understanding about my own historical sexual assault, and to better able to communicate that and to really step up into that space. And I believe that's possibly where I am now, to find more comfortability with my own body. And I have to say that I'm right-sized and I eat really well, and you know, I'm starting to accept more the aging process. And I guess one of the things that when I've been creating sexual literacy is there's two sides of this whole discussion. And I guess one side of the discussion is the whole stuff, I probably could find a better word, but the whole conversation around not having a voice, which takes under the umbrella of assault and historic assault and appropriate language, and the big term now, consent. You know, what does that look like? How do we say yes when we mean yes? How do we say no when we say no? And I guess the other side for me that's just as important now in healthy relationships is to be able to ask for what I need, you know, in terms of my sexuality and my growth, you know, and my pleasure. And I think this is an important discussion too that I want to explore, and to be able to have more joy. And I'm just so grateful for the men in my life that have helped me, you know, mature as and celebrate my body, and to have a more healthier mind. And I'm grateful for all the therapists and people in the therapeutic communities that have able to help me weather and unpack the historical assault. And I hope that in the future that we can move towards more openness and more frank conversations around the yin and the yang of sexual growth for this generation, future generations, and to set up robust structures that are in place for women that want to not keep secrets or have difficulty to ask for what they need because they haven't been in a family that has had open communication, because they didn't have a family before them. So I guess this whole presence of Life Skills Day and life skills education gives us an opportunity to say, these skills need to be taught. They're not just dropping out of the sky. We just don't fundamentally know these skills, how to communicate, because there are a lot of X factors around. There's a lot of, I guess, there's a lot of different influences in a child's life. There's the influence of media, there's an influence of peers. And I guess I would like to be an influencer of change and having voice and speaking up and finding joy in the truth, as difficult as the truth can be. I have some big challenges ahead of me. And I know that in the spirit of my daughter, Carla Serena Todaro, who's no longer here, has ascended into you know, the place that we all will go to one day, that she will be with me in the spirit of the work that I continue to carry out in the area, in the forum of sexual literacy and life skills for the generations across all the global areas. So wherever you are today in the world listening to Life Skills, I want to thank you for listening and being here with me in my home, in my humble home here in Sydney, Australia. And I ask you to perhaps honour that little idea that you have. I encourage you to pick up, look at this pen, any pen that you can, and put it to writing, you know, put it in words if that's who you are. Put it on voice, put it on YouTube, put it on whatever media platform that your heart desires that can open up some channel for good in the world. And I look forward to my next projects that come across my table. I will certainly let my beautiful community of Parenting 2.0 know of the works that I'm involved and getting involved in now. And it's exciting, and I love being able to be a light in the world, speak my truth, tell my story. And there's so much more to tell you. And I'm looking forward to the opportunity to come to you and share the journey of unpacking what's ahead. Stay with me, and final words, speak up. Even if your voice shakes, speak up. Thank you.